What's that expression? Never meet your heroes.
Let's fly, baby! Bring it!
Diving into Expendables 4, this is a movie that is really hard for me to review. Because I love all these guys. Stallone, Statham, Dolph Lundgren, Tony Jaa shows up in this. 50 Cent was, the era that I was listening to rap music. How do I review this movie? Well, let's start as we always do with the story. This story was written by 5 different people, okay? And I can give you those 5 people's names. It's Kurt Wimmer is the primary writer in this, and then Tad Daggert, okay? Max Adams, Spencer Cohen, Dave Callahan. This is a case of too many cooks spoil the soup, okay? This script is kind of all over the place. The plot lines are really kind of buried under like really weird humor that honestly maybe 3 or 4 jokes in the entire hour and 40 minutes that I was sitting there landed. A lot of it just does not land at all. Seriously, there's like potty humor, there's like gross sexual humor. They also went to like a strip club in this movie, which they don't normally do in the Expendables movies. So you could just tell between the director and between the writers, it just was not the right people to pull this movie off. The director is Scott Waugh. He directed Act of Valor, which was actually a good movie. He also did Hidden Strike, lower budget movie, Need for Speed, neither here nor there. So it's not like he's got this stellar track record. He's done a couple things that are mid-budget movies, and they were decent. Act of Valor I actually really liked, but you could tell it was a lower budget movie. But I think it did pretty well as far as like streaming and all that stuff. So the story in this is really not very good, okay? Again, potty humor, not necessary. Most of the jokes did not land. The people that you enjoy bantering are like Jason Statham and Stallone. And this does not happen very much in the movie because I don't want to spoil anything, but Stallone is not in the vast majority of this movie. It's really kind of weird what they've done here. So, story, not so bueno, okay? Really not enjoyable. But the biggest and most glaring issue in this whole movie is the fact that they use CGI to bludgeon this movie to death, okay? Fake airplanes, fake helicopters, fake car crashes, fake explosions, fake fire, fake people walking. Just weird. Like a weird overuse of CGI. And I think that's a directorial issue because just being someone who is a director, when you set up a shot, you either go for broke and you crash the car on purpose, or you take off the airplane on purpose for real, or you shoot a plate and then you decide to fill it with crappy CGI. And that's what they've done in this. And for some reason, all the Expendable movies have had bad CGI, but it was like sprinkled here and there. They took that same bad CGI, made it worse, and then they filled the entire movie with it. And I mean the entire movie. There's a lot of CGI shots in this. Everything from the airplane taking off and landing, which does not need to be CGI, to like cars driving around that are completely fake, not interacting properly with their environment, cars crashing, explosions, just things that don't make sense. So that's a directorial issue, I think. Just being a director, I know that I would just have shot those things for real. Like in one instance, they flipped a Humvee, and it's clearly CGI, and it's really not well done. But then, oddly enough, instead of just going somewhere else with the camera and like forgetting about that, they go back to the Humvee, and it's real, and it's flipped over. So if you're going to flip a Humvee on its roof anyway, why not just actually do it and show it on camera? Maybe it went wrong. Maybe like the whole shot got screwed up and then they had to do CGI. I'm really not sure. But there were some very confusing things, especially on a $100 million budget. You can flip a Humvee. I can go right now and buy a Humvee of the same quality. And I know this for a fact because I look up this kind of stuff when I'm doing movies. You can go buy a Humvee for like $15,000. You're telling me on a $100 million budget they couldn't flip 2 Humvees to get the shot right? It's just weird. Another thing, they have the plane taking off and landing, and it is like After Effects tutorial bad. It's so bad. This is not $100 million budget blockbuster action film starring Stallone and Statham and 50 Cent and all these guys. Andy Garcia's in this movie. All right, rant over. But that ruined the movie for me. Potty humor and really, really bad CGI takes you out of every single scene. Almost every single scene. The only redeeming act of this film is the beginning and end of the third act, which is the big bang bang shoot 'em up. What you expect from these movies. Now, acting, stunts, important, really important. Statham, Stallone, their banter is good. However, it's not throughout the whole movie. Stallone is gone for a lot of this movie, okay? And I don't want to spoil it, but he is. And Statham is really the thing that drives this movie forward and makes you keep wanting to watch as opposed to walk out of the movie theater. So Statham is entertaining as usual. He's fun to watch, and his action is always fast. It's visceral, and he's really, really good at what he does. So Statham is pretty entertaining, and he's also really good at comedy. I've seen him in comedy roles and action roles, and he does really well for both. He's not some dramatic thespian that's going to win an Academy Award, but he is entertaining to watch. Tony Jaa also stands out here. However, I think Andy Garcia was the wrong choice for this movie. He's got like 0 athleticism. Like out of 10, seriously, he's a 2 out of 10 athleticism. So he doesn't make sense in the role that he's in. That's neither here nor there. Some people might just gloss over that if they don't understand physicality, and they might just not see it very much. But he's really not the right person for this role. 50 Cent kind of spoils a couple scenes with just some really flat acting. His voice is just flat. He used to rap like that too. He'd be like one note the whole time. However, in that era, it made perfect sense and it was really entertaining. And he's like, was an amazing rapper at the time, right? His acting though sounds like his rapping. He just goes one tone the whole time and nothing ever changes. So it's not entertaining, right? He doesn't have this dynamo that you want to see when you're an actor, right? He's not emoting. He's just kind of flat, right? So the acting in this movie is all over the place, and these guys are just getting to the point age-wise and athleticism-wise and stiffness-wise where it's starting to become unbelievable. And I love them. I love watching them growing up, right? Dolph Lundgren, Stallone, all these guys. I loved watching them growing up. However, in this movie, they're losing their believability. The first Expendables was like pretty believable. They all moved pretty well still, but that was a decade ago. And things have really changed, and they're getting to the point where I don't think we can do any more of these, because the second act of this movie was some of the most lazy and slow and boring movement of all time. It honestly looked like any Steven Seagal movie in the last 15, 20 years. Like holding the gun lazily, not really holding it up to your eye. So like, I've trained with Navy SEALs, right? Doing live shows and doing movies, right? And the Navy SEALs, they never drop their gun, and they're constantly looking in every direction. I mean, they're super sharp. And they've told me, they're like, hey, in a movie, if you want it to be realistic, you do not drop your AR. That is the thing that points you in every direction. These guys are walking around with their guns like slung like this. They're kind of just casually walking through, trying to infiltrate this place. And then sometimes they'll bring it up and they'll look, and then they'll banter back and forth in the middle of the open. I mean, so many weird things that they chose to do in this movie, and that's a directorial problem for sure. So the director of this fell apart in so many ways, which is weird because they directed Act of Valor, which is a military movie, which was done really well, but it was done with real soldiers, so I think that's the problem. So just some strange things. Megan Fox did not fit in this movie, probably shouldn't have been there, really slowed the movie down, made it annoying, girl boss, all that stuff. So there's just a ton of glaring issues with this, guys. And if I'm being honest with you, I love a lot of the people that I've watched growing up in their older movies, but it's time to kind of, switch to a different type of movie. Go into drama, go into something else, pass the freaking torch, right? And I think that's just kind of where we're at. So a lot of laziness and sloppiness here. The standout was Jason Statham. Tony Jaa was a major standout in this as far as the action. The stunt guys, as usual, do a phenomenal job and try to make the action as believable as possible. But the things that really bog this movie down are bad story, really bad CGI, and just kind of lazy action in the second act. So this is not a very good movie. It's one that you should watch at home when it comes to a streaming network. And if you really love these guys and been watching them your whole life, go watch it. But really, I would wait for streaming. This is a below average action movie. I would even say it's a 4.2. However, you gotta love these old guys, and for nostalgia credits, I gotta bump it up to a 6.2. but it's really a 4.2, let's be honest. So 6.2, that's a review. I don't know, am I losing all my credibility here? You tell me. What would you like to see next? And I'll see you in the next video.
Is that the biggest one you've got?
Oh, it's way bigger than that.